Okay, so picture this with me for a sec, all right? Imagine, like, you're right there, about to do something huge, like leading this big movement or taking a chance, a real leap in your career, or even, when you got to face a challenge that just seems impossible. Like, what is it that gets you through that? What pushes you to actually, like, take that step?
Well, that's what we were really getting at in this deep dive. That's faith. And not just like, oh, yeah, I believe. It's more than that. It's faith that, kind of lights that fire under you,
Yeah.
makes
Oh,
you move.
yeah. I like that. I like that a lot. And guess what? We have to guide us today. This incredible speech from, get this, 1973.
Wow, 73.
Elder O. Leslie Stone, bell bottoms, disco, the whole deal, right? But his message, it's like even more relevant now.
Well, and yeah, what's so interesting is how he really hits on this difference between belief, just plain belief, and faith. Because belief, that's important, right?
Yeah.
Got to start somewhere as the foundation.
Oh,
But
yeah.
faith, see, faith is what makes you actually do something about it.
That's like, okay, you can believe you're a rock star when you're singing in the shower, but it's faith that gets you to, like, actually get up on stage, right?
I get it.
And he uses this great analogy of a car, right? Like, you got your car engine, belief, that's the fuel. But faith is the spark, the thing that actually gets the whole thing going.
Yeah, and once that thing's going, once you're ignited,
Yeah.
that's how we move forward. And it makes you think about all these people throughout history, right, who did just that.
It's so true. And their stories are still so powerful even now. And, I got to ask, have you ever been in a situation, where that kind of faith, it actually made the difference for you? I think we all have those moments, right?
Yeah.
But before we really dive into that, Elder Stone, he gives us some really amazing examples. Moses, Joseph Smith, Brigham Young, all these figures who didn't just believe, they took action. They didn't let anything stop them, even when it seemed impossible.
Oh, absolutely. And their stories are, well, there's something else. Like, take Moses, right? Leading the Israelites out of Egypt. I mean, talk about pressure. I mean, they're trapped, right?
Yeah.
You've got the Red Sea in front of them. You've got the whole Egyptian army coming up behind them. Talk about, one of those moments where you think, what now?
Oh, I know. I would have totally freaked out. But Moses, he doesn't even hesitate. He had this like unshakable trust in God, right? Even when it didn't really make sense.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes faith means taking that chance, that leap, even if you don't have all the answers, right? Even when every logical part of you says, turn around, go back. And in this case, well, just say the result was pretty miraculous. A lot of water involved, I'll tell you that.
It's the parting of the Red Sea. I mean, talk about faith in action. It really makes you think. But the question is, how do we tap into that kind of faith in our regular lives? When we're facing our own Red Seas, right? Those things that make us want to just give up.
That is the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
And thankfully, Elder Stone, he gives us a little bit of help with that too. He talks about how building faith, it's something you have to work at. It doesn't just happen, right? It's like you don't just wake up one day with these giant muscles.
Got to put in the work. So no shortcuts to stronger faith.
No faith couch potatoes.
Yeah.
Elder Stone, he says it's about consistent effort, right? Just like exercising. You want those muscles to grow, you got to work them out. Same with faith.
Yeah. You're building that faith muscle.
Yeah.
So then when the tough times come, which they always do, you're ready. And, speaking of which, this one time, oh man, this is kind of embarrassing, but I thought I could bake this cake, this really hard cake, for my friend's birthday.
Go on, tell me more.
So I really believed I could do it, but I never really baked anything, fancier than brownies from a box. But I put in the time, I practiced, watched videos, even had my friend, coach me through it. And, well, the cake, it wasn't pretty, but it was edible. And that whole experience, that was like me working out my faith muscle, believing in myself, one baking disaster at a time.
I love that. And that's such a good point, right? It's those small steps. It's taking those leaps, those acts of faith, even when they seem small or silly. Every time it strengthens that muscle, makes us more confident to face the next challenge or the next Red Sea that pops up in our way, right?
So it's not enough to just believe. You got to take action. And it sounds like surrounding ourselves with good support, that's really important too, right? Elder Stone mentions that, like finding those things that inspire us.
Well, absolutely. He talks about surrounding yourself with things that lift you up, that reinforce what you believe in, things that push you to grow. And, it makes you think about those figures we were talking about before, Moses, Joseph Smith, even Brigham Young. They all looked for guidance, right? They had mentors, found inspiration from sources they trusted.
So it's like this positive feedback loop, right, for
Yeah.
your faith. And it makes you think, what does that look like for us today? It could be books, maybe even podcasts like this one, hopefully, even just talking to people who inspire us.
That's it. And it's not just about listening either. Elder Stone, he really stresses how important it is to, like, actively engage with ideas. Don't just accept them blindly,
Hmm.
Think about them, wrestle with them. That's how we really, truly start to own what we believe. It's like, working out those muscles we've been talking about. Got to keep flexing that faith muscle,
Hmm.
and it just keeps getting stronger.
And our doubts, our fears, those are the weights, right? Each time we face them head on, our faith, it just grows stronger. But it all begins with that decision, that first step toward the Red Sea, right?
Yeah, and let's be real, that can be the scariest part, right?
Yeah.
Stepping out there into the unknown, not knowing what's going to happen. But you know what? That's also where the magic happens. That's where we really discover what we're capable of.
Totally. It's like what you were saying earlier about Moses and the Red Sea. It wasn't that he knew exactly how it would happen. It was about trusting that it would.
Bingo.
Uh-huh.
And that trust, that's faith in action. It's bigger than us. It's about believing even when you can't see the whole path ahead.
So as we're wrapping up this deep dive, what's the one thing you hope our listeners take away from this? What's the big takeaway?
When you look around at the world today, everything that's going on,
Yeah.
it's easy to feel overwhelmed. Like,
Mhm.
what can I even do? But what Elderstone reminds us is that faith, real faith, the kind that moves you, it's powerful. It can change things. And that power, it starts with us, each of us.
Wow, that's actually really empowering that we all have that potential, to make a difference, to part our own Red Seas, just by tapping into that faith and then taking action, right?
Yeah. Exactly. So next time you're facing a challenge, one of those Red Sea moments, ask yourself, what would it take for me to really step out in faith here? What would it take for me to take action? And remember, even the smallest step, it can have a huge impact. You never know what ripples you might create.
I love that. Such a powerful thought to end on. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into faith in action. Until next time, keep exploring, keep asking those tough questions, and keep that faith muscle strong.